anxiously awaiting that information as and when it comes out of Nasrec. And in just a moment, we'll continue a conversation we started yesterday with Professor Gumede, which you reflected on with your guests, and that is on the organizational structure and discipline and the characteristic of the movement itself. So that's a conversation we'll look at in just a moment following these developments. Let's cross now to our political editor, Mzwandile Mbeje, for the latest. So Mzwandile, it seems like things are literally hotting up now.
Oh, well, a very good evening to you and the viewers at SABC. Indeed, I think the stage where we are now, insofar as the conference is concerned, is basically at the actual beginning of the conference. With the information that we have gathered as the SABC, that the credentials have now been adopted, basically means the conference can begin. So immediately after the adoption of the conference, what will then follow is then the constitutional amendments. Remember, there is a view or a proposal that perhaps the top 6 be increased to top 7. So what does that mean? Is that there is a proposal to add a second Deputy Secretary General. So because the work that is at the Secretary General's office is so huge, so they have realized that perhaps the organization is struggling with a number of challenges because it's not properly capacitated. So, but what this means in terms of the actual way forward is that very soon we will be called in once they have finalized those constitutional amendments will be called in where the additional nominations will be done. So what do we mean by additional nominations? Already, SABC, we know who is contesting for what position based on that list that was issued more than 3 weeks ago. But as this conference is the highest structure of the ANC, so it's not really done and dusted. So what it means is that there could be individuals or names or people that the ANC may feel perhaps they should have been on the ballot. So those people will then have the opportunity to be nominated from the floor. Right now, we know who's contesting the position of the president, for example. The incumbent, President Ramaphosa, is going up against Mzwandile Mbeje. So they are already on the ballot. And then in the deputy president's position, Paul Mashatile, Oscar Mabuyane and Ronald Lamula. And then, of course, in the Secretary General, Mtumseni Ntuli, Fikile Mbalula and Phumulo Masualle. And then on the Deputy Secretary General, Nomvula Mongonyane and Phoebe Potgieter. So at the National Chairperson, Gwedemantashe and Stan Mathabata. And then at the Treasurer Office's position, that will be Pule Mabe, Pejani Chauke, and of course, Mzwandile Masina. So those are the people we already know about. They are already on the ballot. But with this adoption of the credentials, it means the conference will have the opportunity, if it feels perhaps on top of these members, some people need to be elected, especially because we've spoken about the possible addition of a second Deputy Secretary General. So this is what basically is happening right now. So once all those processes then are done and the final amendments are done, so we'll be called in for the nominations, and then those people will then be voted for. But it's not going to happen tonight or even in the early hours of this morning. It will simply make us know who is on the ballot, and then I think when they start to do the commissions, because they normally vote according to provinces, they will then embark on that process. So given how things are, SABC, my guess is that perhaps we may have the results, if the voting is done throughout the day tomorrow, or even if it starts this evening, we may have the results perhaps late tomorrow or even in the early hours of Monday morning, because it's a long process. So that's where we are at the moment. We are stationed here waiting to be called in, but of course they can't call us in now because they are still on the issue of constitutional amendments. With the issue of the addition of a position. So there's a lot that can be spoken about. Tsepiso?
Thank you very much, Mzwandile Mbeje, SABC Political Editor.